Let's get this show on the road. It's Friday night. I got whiskey and cigars to get to.
Right? We must be crazy people doing this on a Friday night. Like, we must have better things to do. Thank you for joining us for this special episode of Liberty Without Compromise. We are the only live, local, liberty-minded program right here in Kootenai County. We talk politics. We expose the political power players, politicians, and influencers. And tonight we're going to do more of that. It was so important that we had to come right to you on a special day and time. Tonight, Sheriff Bob Norris says officer safety is his top priority.
Always officer safety.
But his own traffic stop tells a very different story. No body cam, no CAD record, no policy compliance, and it seems no concern for safety. Even worse, a Kootenai County resident was blocked in during the stop, raising serious questions. Was she being targeted? We're going to talk more tonight about who exactly that was, possibility that she was targeted. Why was this incident left off the books? And how many other corners are being cut behind the scenes when this is the kind of work that our sheriff is putting out? Thank you for joining us for a special episode of Liberty Without Compromise. To expose this traffic stop, Sheriff Norris hoped would go unnoticed, and to uncover what it reveals about accountability, transparency, and the dangers of unchecked power right here in Kootenai County. Now, here's your host, Dan Wilson.
Hey, good evening. Thanks for making the time tonight in your busy schedule to help me get this message out.
We've hardly seen each other today.
Yeah. We are broadcasting this special episode number 34 for several reasons. One is we had a lot of interest after Wednesday night's live broadcast. We've received a lot of messages. But we've also received, I think, some, what would you call it, censoring? Summer Bushnell. This all-star, right before we went on the air on Wednesday, 2 nights ago, we received screenshots. Bob Norris was on Summer Bushnell's Facebook, the Bushnell Reports Facebook page, and he was running his mouth saying, like he always does, and this is a communist tactic for those of you that don't pay attention. Anytime you say that it's fake news or this is unreliable, or you continue to claim that anybody that says anything against you is false information, that's a sign. So he's on there saying no credibility. Everything that's being said is not true. He never provides any receipts whatsoever. None.
Yeah. None.
He never provides any proof, anything on paper.
You've spent, to the contrary, you've spent, or counter, a year and a half providing receipts, proof, and evidence. And he just doesn't have to. And when he goes on an online forum like the Bushnell Report, he knows that, he knows he's protected.
He knows
he's protected. He's in good company, so he can go in, perform some counter ops, try to spin it positive PR. And because obviously what happened as soon as people started coming in who actually had many more of the facts and evidence highly specific to discredit him, guess what? We got blocked.
Yeah,
blocked and banned
you specifically
from that page.
Got blocked from Summer's page,
and
right?
I was just talking to, I'm just going to name names because Jen Noel has been a big proponent of this surveillance state. And having come from where she did, she's lived firsthand the communism and the takeover. And so she has been adamant, pouring out her heart, sacrificing her time, talent, treasure, all of it to combat this overreach in Kootenai County. If we still have a chance right here, if so many of us who had come here thinking that this was going to be the freest county with people that shared our ideologies, and then to find out we're fighting the local sheriff who's bringing in surveillance.
It could have been.
It could have been.
All the people that claim that they love liberty, that they claim that they want small government, claim that they don't want career politicians, made a choice, and they chose to follow the party back in November of last year. But you got blocked when you gave a rebuttal to Bob Norris's bullshit.
It was directly to him.
And you did point by point by point. And then Summer,
approach
remember Summer Bushnell, the proven liar in court. And Summer, we have a very special episode that's going to be dedicated to you coming up shortly. And we're going to be showing the receipts on your lies. But I digress. So we decided that we needed to come and make a special segment again, loosely based on what we talked about Wednesday, but with a lot more depth and detail. At the conclusion of this, I'm hopeful that you are going to see a couple things here. We're going to talk about several things that are interwoven. One is the continual manipulation by the chief law enforcement officer of the county, the sheriff, Bob Norris, and his minions, like little Nick Franson, that everything is about officer safety. And if you don't believe in officer safety, then you're a horrible person. And we can't be friends. And I'm going to make everybody else think that you're a horrible individual. Kind of like what they did to Chris Filios a couple of years ago when he was a county commissioner. And they also did to Mark Eberline after his last stint as county commissioner before he took a hiatus. So you're going to find that we're going to show you how many times, and this is just a small, minuscule amount of times that Bob Norris and command staff have gone before the board of county commissioners, before the public, to plead officer safety. And I'm here to tell you, as I've said before, this is a very, very dangerous thing once you do not put it into check. As somebody that was law enforcement for 12 years, serving on patrol, doing all the same duties that Kootenai County deputies do on a daily basis, except for I did it for free for 12 years, taking on all the same liability. I ran these systems. I know them intimately well. And I'm telling you that if you allow law enforcement to have their way unchecked, even though they mean well, eventually you will have a police state. Now, we're going to talk about this in detail. Bob Norris saying everything that he wants is officer safety related. He tries to manipulate it. But at the same time, he does not practice what he preaches. In fact, he doesn't truly believe officer safety. We're going to show you why that is. We're going to show you that he's actually a liar. He is a two-faced, double-mouthed liar. And we're going to show you this. And we're going to talk about a few other incidents that he's been involved in. But we're also going to talk about what happens when you challenge Bob Norris. The minute that you say anything that he deems to be against him, however small, how angry he gets, how many times he cries, how many times he breaks down. And we're going to talk about how unhinged he is and why my belief now, after over a week, is that this traffic stop that he was involved with a couple weeks ago was most likely retaliation against the woman who brought a tort claim and now a lawsuit against him. One of two tort claims that were filed that's now become a lawsuit. I believe the next bigger tort lawsuit is coming as well. But at the conclusion, I want to ask you, do you really want this technology in the hands of a psychopath? My personal belief, psychopath. Of course, I'm not a psychologist, a tyrant, a little Napoleon. Do you want, when you see what we show you tonight, and it's good for many of you to go back down memory lane to see the things that we kept showing you during the campaign of last year, do you really want this guy who's heading up the premier law enforcement agency, or it's supposed to be, in Kootenai County, protecting your rights against an unaccountable, out of control state or federal government? Do you want him to have this technology?
We're here tonight at a special day and time to continue to expose Sheriff Bob Norris and a traffic stop he made that there was no record of. It just so happened he was caught on camera, and through that routine traffic stop was not exhibiting safety, his own safety measures for officer safety. And so happened he blocked in a citizen, same one he happened to be in a lawsuit with. That's what we're talking about tonight.
In a most obscure location.
A very odd location. We're going to get to that. But for those of you joining us live, share this feed to your page or profile, and you can participate along with us in that comment section. If you've got questions or comments, you can engage among yourself, as it fits into the conversation as we're having it, we can bring that on board and put you into the broadcast here.
Absolutely. 100%.
Well, absolutely.
I put together some visuals that we're going to work through, and I'm probably going to pause them and stop them, and we'll fast forward and maybe rewind, but we're going to we're going to set the picture. The picture is this. In 2024, while I was running for sheriff, I caught wind that the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office had recently installed, we're going to call it 40 plus at that time, vehicles, patrol vehicles that are kitted out down in Utah before they're brought up to Kootenai County. They were placed with a bunch of Motorola license plate recognition cameras at a pretty expensive cost to the taxpayers. Those vehicles eventually came up here, and Vigilant Software, which is owned by Motorola that also provides the cameras, decided to give the county a trial mode to use these LPRs. Now, in all fairness, back in around 2006, Scott Hogue, who's running for mayor of Post Falls right now, who was at that time chief of Post Falls Police Department, was having a hard time combating crime. They were down with manpower, as he described it back last December at a town hall. And he petitioned Homeland Security for about $100,000+ to provide these flock cameras, their license plate recognition cameras that they placed on I-90 when you come and when you go out of Kootenai County east and west. And then they put them on a couple patrol cars to include Kootenai County Sheriff's Office. That's where it started. But here's the deal. Bob Norris decided to take what was a small amount of license plate readers on a small amount of patrol vehicles, and he monopolized the entire county with them. He put them on over 40 vehicles, and now, by what I'm hearing, it's closer to 50. So they were in demo mode. No notification to the citizens of Kootenai County that this was taking place. In fact, when Bob was questioned about it, he says, well, what's the big deal? They've had him in the county for 16 years already.
Oh, he's saying 18.
16, 18,
yeah,
whatever.
That's when I came in to give the counter argument when I got blocked. But yeah,
so
18 is what he's spinning.
Those are stationary cameras. They're different than patrol vehicles that roam the entire county. And when they're turned on, every license plate that camera comes into contact with in its field of view is photographing those license plates. It's capturing that image. It's running it through NCIC to make certain that the vehicle isn't tied to any kind of criminal activity. But more importantly, that data, where that vehicle was at that time and place, that's being captured and it's being stored. And Bob Norris was running this for months in demo mode. Now, I will say this as well. The salesman who was selling this software to the county to run these cameras, to work the images and run them through NCIC, Vigilant Software, the salesman that is attempting and has sold this to the county is an officer, a former officer of Huntington Beach PD. Helicopter pilot, was living in Kootenai County, working in Huntington Beach PD due to fatigue, according to the National Transportation and Safety Board, crashed his helicopter into the bay, killing his pilot. He came back up to Kootenai County, no longer working at Huntington Beach, and probably on disability retirement or getting close to that. And he is now the volunteer pilot for the Kootenai Regional Air Support Unit, that sham helicopter that Bob Norris has been cramming down our throats with Lieutenant Mark Ellis. So you have these different tentacles that are coming back and forth.
So wait. This same guy, helicopter pilot, then also flying for Kootenai Regional Air Support
as a volunteer pilot.
Mm-hmm. So we've got Able One, the use of the helicopter for KCSO, all that stuff tied in. And then you're telling me that this then same guy was the sales rep for the Motorola contract for the LPRs that Norris had put on the vehicle.
RJ Garwood. We have the evidence through records requests.
I mean, that's just another little known fact that cannot be
pay to play.
exposed enough.
Bob Norris came from the pay to play, most corrupt sheriff administration in Los Angeles Sheriff's Department's history. That's Baca and Tanaka.
And obviously,
Both were indicted, by the way, and went to jail.
Yeah.
Went to prison.
So Norris has these put on vehicles. It's in demo mode with a deal through Motorola, but the hardware's on the vehicles at that point. What's done is done. Mm-hmm. And that already, I mean,
costs us a lot of money.
Costs a lot of money and benefits the guy.
Well, I don't know that RJ sold the cameras. I didn't go that far, but you see kind of where we're going with this. And so I find out in August through records requests that they had been running these patrol vehicles for months. Zero policies, zero training, nothing. They were just out there joyriding, running them. And I said, hey, this is a problem because everything in law enforcement that you do on patrol or in function as a deputy has to have a policy. That's absolutely standard across every agency that's high speed in the entire country. And of course, Bob claims that he came from high speed Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department and he managed law enforcement for a city, the size of Kootenai County, and he's all this professional. So he's running these. We find out, we blow the whistle right before the adoption of the fiscal 25 budget. And we just said, hey, he's running these things. There's no policies. It's dangerous not only to our liberty, but it puts the entire county at risk. This is unbelievable that a guy from this background would be this sloppy with what he does. And then we know through a records request that I did later on, within 12 hours, Brent Nelson, the undersheriff, started drafting a policy 12 hours after I went public with this to the county commissioners. But the county commissioners eventually bought off on Bob's lies about officer safety.
It's so embarrassing because it's like you're the parent. Yeah. Dan Wilson is the parent, and you have these elected officials and or lifetime law enforcement professionals that are constantly running behind you, having to clean up mess because of the trail of flaming wreckage. And so wherever you're moving the needle, they're having to go and constantly on the defense.
And they are.
It's like
that's not
parent to
that's
child.
Not just words. That is a fact. Yeah. But anyway, so we're going to start watching right after Bob Norris decided that he got caught and that the data now was critical, that it's important that the data is saved. And by the way, you've already heard many of my broadcasts when I get into the nitty-gritty as to why we don't want LPR technology. And they're ready to vote for this technology again coming up next week. The Board of County Commissioners on the 27th of August, 6 p.m. down at the county building. We're going to be live broadcasting during this, and we're going to be commenting to see if Eberline and Duncan, both commissioners, are going to go ahead and give Bob his wish. Only $24,000 to run 40 patrol plus 40 to 50 patrol vehicles. Folks, they're selling it cheap because Motorola is making money, no doubt, personal opinion, on the back end. We're not going to go down that route. Today we're going to focus specifically
it's so
on.
Hard not to go down.
We're going to focus
route.
specifically on the manipulation. I want you guys to watch and see how many times Bob Norris and little Nick Franson, his at that time FOP president, they're Bert and Ernie, how close that they were. Let's hear some of the talking points. Notice that Nick Franson, as we start this video coming up here, notice that Nick Franson is not representing the sheriff's office, but he is in full uniform. Oh, but wait, he was on a fire and didn't have time to go home and get cleaned up. So disregard the fact that I'm in full uniform, Kootenai County Sheriff's Office. I'm speaking as a FOP, Fraternal Order of Police, the Deputy Sheriff's Association.
They know how to show up in uniform when it suits.
So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start playing this video here.
The question is, who has access to the data? And what's the policy in place? Because I'm not willing to get behind anything that jeopardizes my personal freedoms or anybody else's.
Little Nick Franson.
The officer safety implications are incredible in this. It's a great tool. But even...
Well, like I said, we've had it since for about 16 years now. It is in my opinion, an officer safety feature for that deputy that is in that car that we've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in, to know that there is somebody that's dangerous in front of him or her. So, I want to do it as soon as possible. So there is an officer safety feature to this particular technology.
Okay. So the very first clip you saw was Little Nick Franson, FOP at that time, president, coming to petition the community and Board of County Commissioners, August of 2024. Now what we're watching is Bob Norris holding a special town hall to debunk everything that Dan Wilson had been saying about these LPRs. You can watch one of my previous videos when I shoot down every one of his lies and bring the receipts, even from Motorola. But we definitely got under his skin. So he has this town hall and he's saying again, officer safety, officer safety, officer safety. This is from December of just this past year.
At this point, I would be in favor of taking out the 24,000. Right now, I know that there's still 6 months left on the contract, which I understand we're going to be getting updated numbers, but I would feel more comfortable cutting that now and not leaving it in the budget.
May I be heard? So can I assume that your position would be to keep the technology but not store it? Is that would be your position?
Well,
Or to cancel the contract?
so not renew the contract after December.
Okay. But what about for the officer safety component to this?
Well, I don't have any information here to help me with the officer safety thing. I don't have
Well, then can
anything
we
to
go
go
back?
off
Can we
that.
start? This technology is an officer safety feature. I'm asking the board to approve that. That is a officer safety feature. That is a investigative tool.
Do you want to keep the $24,000 in for the mobile license plate readers?
No.
All right, so it sounds like we have two commissioners who want to cut the ALPR from the budget. Am I understanding that correctly?
Right now,
So
yes.
officer safety doesn't matter to you folks.
Okay. So what you just had there is, fast forward, we're now in July of this year. Budget deliberations are occurring. And at this point, you have, I mean, the budget's grown out of control. It's over 50 million. It started out in the low 30s when Norris took over in 21. Now, granted, there were some things like the jail expansion that kind of plays with some of those numbers, but it has grown exceptionally under Bob Norris. And he doesn't want to be told no about anything. And so the commissioner said, hey, we haven't really seen any data, you know, that concludes that this thing is really worth the investment. We showed you 2 weeks ago. There are no studies anywhere. In fact, the NIJ did a study where their conclusion was, after surveying all sorts of agencies across the country, the LPRs don't stop crime, they don't lower crime, they don't impede crime, and there are zero studies, none, that can be produced that says that these license plate recognition camera systems increase officer security, except for Bob. Either Bob's so stupid he doesn't even understand that there is nothing to back his claim, or I believe is that he is attempting to manipulate people. So you just heard him say they're going to cut it, and then he jumps up. So officer safety doesn't matter.
Right. And when you say attempting to manipulate people, here's something else to consider. It can't prove this one, but I will tell you what the fallout was. When this particular meeting occurred and Bob said, so officer safety doesn't matter to you, he stomps out of the room. The fallout on social media was that people were breathing a sigh of relief because they said the county commissioners voted it down. It's not happening. Yeah. So those of us who are following this more closely, or the most closely, had to go in and play cleanup and comment on some of those comments like, no, that is not at all what's happening, because people don't have the time in the day to follow this that closely and to understand where that came into play.
And so it changed.
Could have been a manipulation because
they
count on people. You hear that, you're like, oh, great. You know, I can go back to my vacation.
We're going to go back. So this is 1 week after the commissioners said, yeah, we're not in favor of continuing this.
Commissioners, Mr. Chairman, in November of last year, the voters of this county overwhelmingly elected me to be their sheriff by about a 48% margin. And there was another candidate, I don't remember his name, but he ran on the subject of ALPRs, automated license plate readers. And that candidate came in 48% behind me. This county has entrusted me that I would safeguard this information, that this information would only be used for crime fighting and officer safety. We even started the program late because I did a town hall meeting and invited members of the community to come so they could hear the real facts about the ALPR, not the misinformation that was out in the community by certain individuals or groups. I did talk to Commissioner Eberlein. He is very supportive of officer safety, and I have assured him that, and all the voters of this county, that this will only be used for crime fighting and officer safety purposes only.
So a week later, and if you watch the whole video, Commissioner Eberlein's got a huge grin on his face because it's like Bob picks up the phone. Hey, you know, Commissioner Eberlein, you're for officer safety, right? And in fact, you're for the fact that if we use this equipment for officer safety, we're also going to save runaways and kids that are kidnapped and murder suspects, and on and on and on it goes. Well, what are you going to say? The sheriff's telling you all this information, unless you really want to dig down and do your homework, like most of these county officials apparently are. They just say, yeah, you know, if it works, it works, you know, and we'll see. Just show us the evidence. But it looks like it's back on the docket.
Since you're heading down this road, because I didn't know how far you're going to go with ALPRs, but Bob Norris's 5 points are this: officer safety, as you've made very clear. Out of that, the offshoot of that is community safety. So you can kind of wrap that into one. He's now moved from originally when he was presenting this, the technology has been in use for 16 years. Now it's 18. And I did double check that. That was in his latest post. There's no, and he's proclaiming no data is sold to any entity, and then no data breach. So those are the 5 prongs of
How
his.
Does he know?
How
does he know? I mean, show us, Bob.
He doesn't have to prove it.
And what do you mean by sold? If Motorola takes it,
and that's what the devil's in the details.
If Motorola
that's exactly
or
it.
any of these software companies take the data as part of the terms of service, why you can run, you know,
so he's
40, 50
right.
vehicles per year, and it's only $24,000. I mean, compare that to how much it costs to have a license to run the body cameras. I mean, they just approved 2 body cameras in storage. It was like $10,000 a couple weeks ago for 2 body cameras, officer worn body cameras. So here you have the other fallacy, the other lie that he said was that there's been no breaches.
No, that's it. Yeah, no
well,
data breach.
let me tell you something, Bob, because I know you were too busy going to your pancake breakfast and drinking with deputies like Deputy Shaw, as I've been told. I don't know that's for certain, but you know the one that crashed his Tacoma truck up in Athol. You know, the one that you had to talk to ISP detectives about because you were the very first call. Anyway, I digress.
We have that expose over on our YouTube channel at the Idaho Sheriff.
So you have Bob too busy to pay attention to the security of the county. And we already know that there was a cyber breach that took place last year. This is a fact. I did a records request last year to say how many times has Kootenai County performed a security audit. Now, those security audits, how many times over the years have they been pass or fail? County refused to tell me anything. They said it would jeopardize the safety of the county. I didn't ask for the particulars, vulnerabilities. I didn't ask for any of the deficiencies. I just said pass or fail. They wouldn't tell me. These are the people. And I think that Bela Kovac had actually brought a special commissioner meeting because their information had been hacked, as Bella had discussed. Anyway, so Bob, you know, you don't know what you don't know. And last I checked, you don't have a background. In fact, you've said you're not a security guy. So what evidence do you have to prove the Kootenai County files have never been breached and that this is absolutely secure? The last I heard from my former choice for undersheriff, who's still part of the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office, that everything is moving towards the cloud. And how do you know who can or can't get access to information? I mean, we've already shown you a couple weeks ago that Palantir is data mining all of this stuff through back doors. Anyway.
That's one of the things to present at the commissioner meeting next Wednesday for those of you who are heading there live. This is your educational evening, because we're telling you right now what their talking points already are. That is what they brought to the table. And we brought the
receipts.
That's where they're going with this. So you can have an advantage when you understand what it is he's going to present. If Bob Norris or any other retired LE or any of the other sheriff deputies come in and try to promise you that no data is sold to any entity, again, pay attention to how that's being positioned. The question to push back with, I want proof of who is accessing this data, how and when, and where is that in the fine print in the Motorola contract?
He's saying, well, we don't know that any deputy, we know when the deputies access the information.
All the keystrokes are recorded.
That's not what we care about, Bob. I mean, it is a concern, but I am so less concerned about that.
It's a false equivalent. It's a false equivalent argument. That's why. It's not that it isn't important. It sounds important.
So I want you guys to hear Bob Norris in his own words just one short year ago. We're going to watch this couple videos here.
I would like to tell everybody this, is that the best indicator of how somebody will perform in the future is how they performed in the past. The best indicator from an employee standpoint, from a leader standpoint, the best indicator of how somebody will perform in the future is how they performed in the past. This county can't afford the civil rights lawsuits and the civil rights violations that are going to come with an inexperienced candidate. I would like to tell everybody this, is that the best indicator of how somebody will perform in the future is how they performed in the past. This county can't afford the civil rights lawsuits and the civil rights violations that are going to come with an inexperienced candidate.
Okay. What you're seeing right there is Bob telling you the best indicator of somebody's future performance is based on their past performance. And he said it twice for emphasis.
He likes to do that.
He also says that this county can't afford the civil lawsuits that could occur under a amateur, guy like me that was running. So how do we transition? How do we go from LPRs and manipulation to all of a sudden this? Well, there is a reason. You'll see how it ties in shortly, but we just showed you through those clips. You may have caught on if you're watching close, of a lawsuit that was filed last summer. Now, Penny Collinson, photographer that's been in Kootenai County for a very long time, apparently she and Norris sort of knew each other, I guess, during his initial campaign in 2020 through something called Hank's Law. Again, I don't know enough about it, but at some point, Bob decided that Penny apparently was not his friend. And when Penny came to a town hall that was being held last April 2024 in Cataldo, which is east and south of Coeur d'Alene in the eastern part of the county, this forum was for all sorts of candidates. You had county commissioner candidates there. You had, I think, 4 or 5 of them. You had 2 sheriff candidates, Bob Norris and Captain Mike Bauer. And you probably had a state rep. But it was told to us, and we're not going to get into the nitty gritty, but we heard from people that attended that Bob picked up the microphone and said extremely vile, sexually sexually explicit adjectives, hurled them towards Penny and made accusations to her and against her. And of course, then because of that, she decided to file a tort claim. She filed a tort claim for damages, naming the county and the sheriff himself. And his response just a few short days later is to, on the official Kootenai County Sheriff's letterhead, to write up a letter, a press release, stating that anyone that could prove, first of all, he denied all the allegations. So he's being sued for defamation or a claim through a tort. And he claims that none of this is true, and he offers a bounty. I'm calling it a bounty. It was a reward, a $10,000 reward for anybody that could provide evidence, mostly video, to contradict what this woman, Penny, was claiming in her tort. It's bullying behavior, is it not?
Severely messed up.
You are being, in essence, a tort is a precursor to a lawsuit saying, hey, I've been wronged by the government and I want to get paid.
And there are something, or is something called witnesses to an event. So there were days before audio and video recording where things you had to bring your evidence. And the thing that Penny's definitely got going in her favor is there were
a lot of witnesses, and many people who have written
pastors
from the altar church
under oath.
Pastors from the altar church, a former sheriff himself, former Kootenai County sheriff. So anyway,
it's not a baseless claim like what he tried to brush it off to the community as. That's the point. I want to remind you, a bunch of you have joined since the top of the hour. We are here at a special day and time. Surprise! So while we are here live, really truly, you can share this feed to your page or profile, and we're going to continue on in this conversation with a lot of the antics of Bob Norris, a traffic stop that he made the other day. Why in the world is he even doing that? Him tripping up over his own officer safety statements where he didn't seem to be practicing safety measures himself.
You're getting it all the way now.
Well, we're getting into it. We're transitioning into that.
So the tort claim eventually turns into a lawsuit. And the lawsuit was filed late last year. Eventually that lawsuit, we're going to see this here in a second. We'll go ahead and play this video and we'll kind of talk over it.
All right.
So her case was dismissed over a technicality here just a couple months ago, but she was able to go ahead and refile. So she did file that.
Yeah.
And it was filed, I don't know, about a month ago.
You had the immediate spin that it was just, it was thrown out and it was done and over.
Corleen Press tried to say that it was thrown out. But by the way, during this time, he also is facing a tort claim as well. And I think Brent Reagan and the KCRCC and Loudmouth, Ed Baharana, Lear Asset Management, all those guys over the town hall and the treatment of Borenpole. In fact, I think I heard today that Mr. Johnson, that was also manhandled by Norris and then shoved up against the wall, also entered a tort claim. So Bob has all these tort claims now against him. And I just want to remind you that the best indicator of somebody's future performance is based on their past performance. And the county can't afford the civil lawsuits that are going to happen under an amateur. Did you guys hire an amateur? So we're building this up. We're going back down memory lane, reminding you that Penny Collinson first entered her tort claim last year. It then moved into a lawsuit. The lawsuit was dropped earlier this summer over a technicality, but it was refiled. At the same time, you have these tort claims that are going to turn into multi-digit $million lawsuits. And Borenpole has raised an ungodly amount of funds, has a pretty competent attorney. Anyway, so here we have Bob, who just finds out that his lawsuit has been re-entered from Collinson. Bob gets a little emotional here. And this is kind of his MO. Again, why does he act so emotional all the time when he's out in public?
This is so important that I had to have this forum, is because when there is accusations, especially of criminal wrongdoing against elected officials, and in this case, one of them happens to be your sheriff, it potentially can erode at the trust and confidence that you all have in me. And I will not allow that to happen. You can say anything you want. You know what? I don't care. You can say whatever you want. But when you start throwing criminal accusations at the chief law enforcement officer in the county, and I spend a lot of time, and our organization spends a lot of time earning your trust. And I'm not going to allow that to happen.
Okay. That was from a year ago. He didn't like what I was saying on the campaign trail, and he concocted this witch hunt. He had former prosecutor with his own background of trouble, Bryant Bushling, made racist remarks against African Americans here in Kootenai County. He was the arbiter of that event, and Norris says it very clear. And we're going to show you other instances where he does the same thing. And listen, you'll hear this yourself. He will not allow anybody that starts eroding the public's your trust in your sheriff. Well, guess what? When that happens, he's not going to let it go. He is going to make certain that the record is set straight. A little weird, isn't it?
Well, it is. And I am fairly certain that if you analyze that type of speech and that type of positioning, I've worked really hard to get to this place. He puts in the word to earn your trust.
Yeah.
And if somebody is doing something to erode that trust, I will not allow that to happen. Yeah. And it doesn't matter that the reason that trust was eroding is because you have somebody who's finally combating him to expose what's going on with facts and evidence. So what is he going to do to not allow it?
We know that he's a hothead.
But how far is he going to go? What are you going to do, Bob Norris, to not allow your people to lose their trust in you? What are you going to do? I mean, if they're questioning because the way you are, who you are, how you operate, where you came from, what you're actively doing the last 5 years, if that has exposed you, what method and means are you going to use to stop it?
Have you ever seen someone in office like Bob at this level? You know, we're not a small county, but we're not huge. Somebody that came from Los Angeles with all of this experience, and a lot of our elected officials came from California or from out of the area. Mm-hmm. Have you ever seen so much chaos around one individual? I mean, normally when a sheriff gets sued, my experience when, I worked law enforcement over in Spokane County, right next door to Kootenai, it was due to deputies' performance and something that they did that was allegedly against somebody's civil rights. And so the sheriff is named, since he is the sheriff and they are his deputies. But I don't ever recall seeing any sheriff in my time that I know, even in this region here, that was dealing with allegations for extremely vulgar language used against them, and then doubling down with a ransom letter and social media posts. And then after the lawsuit was filed, he continued to do it again. I forgot to mention that. Mm-hmm. This is a pattern.
Double down.
You're at a Republican town hall by the people that helped put you into office last year because, the Republicans rubber stamped you, Brent Reagan and his band of merry idiots. You have this town hall, known disruptors, known agitators, and a woman who you had previously targeted in an email to then Democrat Chair Evan Koch 2 years before this incident. And you say in this email, you were extremely dismayed or upset, or I forget the terminology right now, but you took exception to, you named her Teresa Bornpole for the way she had talked to you and called you out at some Democratic event. And we know through another incident where you were speaking, I believe, before the Pachyderms or the Reagan Republicans last summer, when you were saying Casey Whalen is a, propagandist. And I think you threw in there probably Quincy Franklin but you also mentioned Born Pull again. And once you know that, just coincidentally, seconds before you rushed into the auditorium, you never observed her by the surveillance cameras outside when you were out talking in the lobby. As Marcus Not Realus has pointed out on X, you didn't witness the violation, but the sitting sheriff that's supposed to represent everybody regardless of party and affiliation ran in and immediately put his hands on Teresa Bornpole and violated her civil rights. I'm sorry. Those of you Republicans and conservatives here in the county that are pissed off that I'm standing up for a Democrat person's right, no matter how she may behave in the past, there are still rules that we operate by. And now she entered into a large lawsuit. And if you look through all of the video, you realize how out of control Bob Norris was when he grabbed Mr. Johnson, who was just standing there. Bum rushed him right out, threw him up against a block wall, threw his leather journal or whatever book it was in his possession, threw Mr. Johnson's personal possessions on the ground and held him detained using other law enforcement and or security personnel. This is a guy that is unhinged. You watch the videos, you see his face, you know how upset and angry he gets. So why are we saying this? We're going to keep playing it because we're going to show you even more as to why you should be concerned right now, this very day. Here you have Bob's Cruiser, his unmarked Explorer. Right now, what you're looking at is satellite view of Kootenai County Sheriff's Office. And if you go down a little bit south, about a mile or so, down towards Costco, you're going to find across from Costco to the south and the east a little coffee shop. This coffee shop's called The Human Being. So I just kind of want to give you guys a little idea as to where this location is. It's not that far from the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office, or what used to be the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office since they moved operations unconstitutionally up to Hayden. What you're seeing right now is a view off of that frontage road. It escapes my mind right now, but it separates Costco to the south from this little strip area, and to the east, just to the left of your screen, 4th Avenue. And what you're looking at right now is you're looking at the entrance to this human bean coffee stand. And if you look, you'll see a couple trees in the front. This is a Google Earth view.
Check 3 for disturbance. RP is requesting a landline first.
Here you have a vehicle. The vehicle on the right is Penny Collinson, the lady who first filed the first tort claim and lawsuit against Bob Norris.
Copy, 2259.
There's her vehicle again up close. This was taken immediately after the photos that we're going to show you next. Penny was in her vehicle. She had pulled in to the coffee stand. Now, this is being told to me secondhand. I have not personally spoken, but I've heard from two sources, one being Captain Mike Bauer, who I think is very credible. He tells a story that Penny was pulled off into the shade of those trees.
As in she had chosen to park in that spot in the shade. I've actually communicated directly. So she was there prior to this, had already been parked, and was simply sitting in her car, making use of the shade, returning a couple client phone calls. So that's what puts her in that position prior to this.
She's nosed in and she looks up and she sees red and blue lights. And she's asking, well, what's going on? She realizes that between her car and this patrol vehicle is another vehicle, which you're seeing Sheriff Norris standing, contacting this driver of this vehicle.
Central status.
You see, he's engaging the
13.8
occupant of the vehicle. Now, What you're looking at here is my records request that I put in after hearing this story, because of course I'm hearing all these, everybody's upset going, hey, Bob Norris planned this. He's harassing Penny. And I'm like, look, I performed hundreds, if not thousands of traffic stops over 12 years. I'm getting in trouble now because I said 12 years. And during that time, you try to set up your stops so that you kind of gauge where you think people might pull off once you hit the lights and attempt to execute the stop. Sometimes it works. A lot of times it doesn't. So when Penny said, hey, this happened and people were jumping on the bandwagon, he did this on purpose. I'm going, I don't think so. I mean, it's probably a coincidence. Most unlucky coincidence. I mean, think about it. This guy, man, I mean, lawsuits, the person that is suing you for harassment, and you just so happen to stop a vehicle. By the way, why is the sheriff stopping a vehicle?
That's been my question for the last couple of weeks. What is he doing?
He retired from Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, got a LACERA, that's the Los Angeles County Employees Association. He received a hefty disability retirement that goes up every year. It's over $187,000 right now. It's actually more higher than that, but I'm just using that conservatively.
He meant higher.
He's
articulate.
It's more. It's not even including the $140,000 that he makes with Kootenai County.
I thought it was up to $193
for what, the LACERA?
His
could be.
Disability.
Anyway, it's a lot of money.
It's a lot.
But the point is Captain Mike Bauer has stated, and others. It's even picked up on the national news after the town hall incident. There are restrictions on what you can or can't do, because if you're disabled, like, patrol, law enforcement, you can't do it anymore. Why is he stopping vehicles? Now, when you look at the way he stopped the vehicle, and this is where we're going to come in and talk more about why he's a bald-faced liar. I said it, Bob. You are a pudgy-faced rosacea. Isn't it rosacea?
Hey.
Whatever. Rosacea-faced liar.
I have that too. You can't make fun of people with rosacea.
Well, I'm just happy I could say the word.
Okay.
Anyway, liar when it comes to officer safety. Why do I say this? Well, we're going to keep watching and we're going to stop. I did put a request in, and I said, just for kicks and giggles, I requested all information, as you'll see on the screen here, and then we'll push pause so you can look at it close. I requested provide all CAD, that's dispatch and notes that you put into the system. Please provide the CAD notes and any dispatch radio traffic, which you're hearing behind. So that radio traffic you're hearing is from that time frame for the August 12/25 traffic stop call for service that Sheriff Norris, or Unit 2100 as he's known as, conducted or participated in at approximately 13:20 hours near the Costco in Coeur d'Alene. Now, why did I do that? Because I was a cop. I know how these things work. Protocol whenever you stop a vehicle is you inform dispatch one of two ways. You either go out over the air, hey, this is David 897, that was my old call sign, David 897, stop, Adam Boy Charles, 123, I'm going to be at the corner of 4th and Appleway. And that lets dispatch know to start an incident, an official police interaction. It also allows other officers to know your whereabouts, because for officer safety, one of the things that was grilled into us, and we saw it time and time again, if an officer is going to get killed, one of the quickest ways he's going to get injured and or killed is going to be at a traffic stop, because you have literally no idea who you are going to be engaging with. So you do this not only as a courtesy to fellow officers, so if bullets start flying, they know where to go, but you also, from a civil liability standpoint, want to engage it. Anytime law enforcement turns on its red and blues and stops you in a vehicle, that is a Fourth Amendment seizure. So why, when people say, hey, officer, am I being detained? Yes, you are. That's a Fourth Amendment seizure. They are temporarily suspending your Fourth Amendment right under the Constitution for a limited time.
So you're saying that statistically the most dangerous thing that a patrolman comes into are those traffic stops?
One of the most.
Okay.
One of the biggest hazards. I mean, I think the number one is traffic collisions.
Okay.
But as far as when you get into a dangerous, and the stats kind of go up and down, and I don't want to be a Norris and incorrectly state a stat, but suffice to say that traffic stops are inherently dangerous. Now, why does Bob continually say we have to have these LPRs? Officer safety, officer safety, officer safety, officer safety. I'm weaving two stories in here, folks, because they can't both be right. Bob Norris also, when you look in look at the video that we just played, he is not wearing any Kevlar vest. I identify that. And look, when you wear a Kevlar vest, you can tell it's blocky. His shirt is following every contour of his svelte body there, and he's not wearing any Kevlar. So again, guy that's on disability, can't work anymore. He's not even post-certified in the state of Idaho. That's verified. He still has authority because he is a sheriff, but why is he conducting a stop if he's for officer safety? Why isn't he putting it out over the air? Why isn't he keying it into his MDC? Sometimes I didn't even do it on the air. I would just do it over my computer. It would still notify dispatch and everybody else where the call for service was.
Right.
So he apparently is constantly, bemoaning the fact that if we don't have these LPRs, like little Nick Franson, they may stumble across a murder suspect, and these LPRs are going to save the day because it's officer safety. We got to have these. Eberline, we got to have these. Officer safety. Eberline, officer safety. Duncan, officer safety. But he doesn't believe it himself. In fact, he doesn't even follow his own policies and best practices that are unanimous, universal, adopted policies when it comes to traffic stops. Now, again, why do you want to document a traffic stop? You go up, this happened to me numerous times. You go up thinking that you have a valid stop. You get up there and you find out, hey, I misidentified the person, or, any other number of factors. And you decide, okay, I no longer have reasonable suspicion, probable cause to detain this person any longer, and I have to let him go. And what do? You notate before you clear your call with your disposition. You notate, okay, hey, stop this vehicle. I thought the guy was having a medical condition, so I wanted to make certain he's okay, which is what I heard might possibly be why he's claiming he stopped that vehicle. Or it could be something like, hey, misidentified driver, I interposed or, mixed up the plates, the plate number, but you write that down so that in the event, and Bob wasn't wearing a body camera.
And does his vehicle have an LPR? Is a question that came in.
I did not.
Blue Collar
I did not personally observe in the photos that it does. That would be too much work for Bob.
Yeah.
So no dispatch, no letting other officers know where you are. You're the chief law enforcement officer of the county. Everybody recognizes you. You could be a target. You're stopping a vehicle. You don't bother to tell dispatch the official reason, the constitutional reason you had to stop the vehicle. You're not wearing a body cam. We pulled the radio logs. You're not communicating anything over the air. So we've heard this before about Bob and his stop. So why is this such a big deal? Well, he's going before the entire county claiming officer safety is huge. And yet he himself does not participate in officer safety. For a guy that spent 30 years doing what he did, and now another 5 up here in Kootenai County, he doesn't even display the minimal disciplines for traffic stops. We don't even know if it was a lawful stop for this individual that he stopped. In fact, if you were the individual that was stopped by Sheriff Norris, reach out to us. We'd love to hear your side of it. But at this point, I'm led to believe, based on the fact that Bob has issues with people challenging who he is and his authority or his perceived authority, slighting him. Listen to me, I'm the sheriff, do what I say. You out now, you out now. There's no proof that this traffic stop was legitimate. There is no proof that he did not set this traffic stop up in order to harass Penny. Now, we know that he has seen Penny's vehicle before. He's aware of it. Don't know if he's ran the plate before, but we know that he has run into her multiple times in that in the county.
Can citizens do records requests to see if their plates have been run at any point in time?
Yeah, you sure can. You sure can. And there's a couple ways to do that.
Because I know now we've got people in the community that are starting to wonder because they seem to see or run into or have Norris around them an unusual number of times, like an unnatural number of times. So there are people that are just questioning, like, does he know my whereabouts? Because it's, have my plates ever been run? Were kind of like low level questions.
Look, you can't be disabled and doing trivial traffic stops. I mean, one of the very first things that he did to make the news after he was sworn in 21, is he backed up a deputy a couple blocks from the sheriff's office. And then he didn't like a First Amendment guy that was walking down the road with his camera, and he made a big deal out of it, and he threatened to pepper spray the guy. Kind of like we threatened to pepper spray Bornpole inside the crowded auditorium because, he doesn't understand use of force. I guess they don't teach that down at Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department.
100%.
Okay, again, why are we saying this? Because you have a guy that is so unhinged with what he's saying. He has no real belief in officer safety. That's already shown. He shows zero leadership for the deputies at Kootenai County. The very deputies that he can write up at any time for violation of said policies, let alone setting the county up for a civil liability, another tort claim, because Bob, you can't actually document how long you had the vehicle stopped since there's no CAD record or who the individual was. I mean, how do you go back now and put any of that together? Because you didn't do the bare minimum. We asked for the records. There are none. You had no cameras going. You're disabled. No Kevlar vest. Looks to me, the more that I'm looking at this, that he did this. Maybe he knew the individual in their vehicle and purposely stopped that vehicle bumper to bumper with Penny's own personal vehicle in another attempt similar to what he did with that ransom, the reward for information that could prove that she was a liar that he used with the Kootenai County Sheriff's letterhead. And this is the kind of guy he is.
For disturbance, RP is requesting a landline first. Copy, 2259.
Zero record of him calling anything out on the radio.
58 Central status.
So what we're hearing is the minimal radio activity.
Yeah, just plain radio traffic, nothing involving 2100 or his stop. Now, here's why I'm ultimately saying that I believe that I know that Bob, or where I'm compelled to believe that Bob did this on purpose. He's looking straight at her vehicle. He knows her vehicle. Bob has been at events with her. They've parked nearby. Cataldo is a very small location. He looks and he knows that that's her vehicle.
Finish, please.
Now, we're going to show you again more unhinged Bob Norris moments. And we're going to wrap this up, and I'm going to give you my observation and conclusion as to why I'm saying what I'm saying and what action plans that you guys can have going forward. So let's go ahead and play this. Oh, did it go all the way back to the beginning? Son of a gun.
Oh,
I think I might be lucky.
Yourself?
Okay. I know.
You got this.
Friday night.
13.8.
Bob's looking straight at Penny's vehicle. She's taking these photos.
Finish, please.
If you're saying something that's wrong, I'm not going to sit here.
I'm asking a question, Sheriff. It's obvious. It's obvious you don't care.
I'll talk when I want to talk. When there's something that's being said that's not accurate.
Ask a question.
Stop. We're going to have a recess. Let's take 5.
I feel like...
Okay. That was just a few weeks ago, folks, for those of you that missed our earlier broadcast.
And Norris was just as involved, if not more, in that back and forth. And he said, "Do you think I care? I don't care."
Yeah, but I'm not going to let you say things that aren't true or that challenge me.
I'm going to say what I want.
For those that don't know, that is up at Hayden. It's a city inside of Kootenai County that is contracting law enforcement services from Kootenai County Sheriff's Office. Bob Norris came and gave them a proposal about 2 or 3 years ago. He was about 3 times under what it should have been because he's not a business guy. He doesn't understand numbers. He doesn't even understand how an Excel spreadsheet works. So they're working through, what are we going to do? And Ed DePriest, bald guy sitting on the left, was asking questions of Special Deputy and County Commissioner Bruce Matari, because Bruce Matari has a special deputy under Bob Norris because he was his former campaign manager. Can't make this stuff up.
And he'll be voting on Norris's budget next Wednesday.
Ed DePriest is asking questions across the table to DC Matari. And Bob's the one that interrupts that.
He inserted himself.
And starts saying, raising his voice. Again, chief law enforcement officer of the county, folks. You know, this tenured professional that has seen it all in 30 years. What in the world are we looking at here with this guy? The emotional instability is mind-blowing. We're going to continue to play this.
We are on a ship, and I'm plugging these holes, but we just keep sinking.
So that's Sheriff Bob Norris there, getting emotional, talking about the staffing situation they're dealing with.
We do not support
I belong to North Idaho Packer. I belong to Reagan Republicans, the Micah Flats Range, and I'm
There he is crying.
You love your Bob.
competitive gymnastics dad. And a competitive dance dad.
Those are 3 small incidents of Bob Norris breaking down when he's speaking to the public. These aren't even high incident events. These are talking about budgets, talking about manpower, talking about pride in the park. The last one you saw where Terry Seymour in her, I don't know, drag voice.
We love you, Bob.
Always his cheerleader.
It's okay. We love you, Bob.
He is actually speaking amongst his friends where he was protected. I spoke there a week earlier and they tried throwing me to the wolves. Didn't work too well, Bruce Matari, when he came with your little ambush. But anyway, Bob cries a lot. We haven't even showed you the video where he blew up at people at the Kootenai County Fair, screamed at them, told them to get out of there because they were wearing Amen Bundy shirts. Many of you have these similar experiences. I can tell you that I had business owners who were supporting me during the campaign last year who were then visited by, after they publicly were supporting me, were visited by FOP members, former detectives, but people that are around Bob in his circle to send out to try to leverage. Some of you, you can drop in the comments if you're still watching, if you want to share who you were. We received calls all the time. People didn't want to come out and publicly support me because they knew that Bob would go there and try to intimidate them. I'm the only person that Bob can't intimidate. Me and I think Tom Wold.
Well, we had people were afraid. They wanted to support, but were afraid to put up lawn signs or signage because it was getting vandalized and taken down.
Here's the conclusion. The conclusion is you're being manipulated, folks. You're being manipulated over this LPR thing. He says officer safety, but he doesn't really mean officer safety. He doesn't practice it himself. He violates his own policies. He violates industry standard when it comes to patrol procedures with traffic stops. But why is he doing it? Well, simply doing it because he loves clout. He loves being able to grease the skids of his friends and to be a popular sheriff, kind of like Baca and Tanaka pay to play. We'll let you guys run the sheriff's helicopter. We'll support it on the back end. We'll get the county to pay for it. Oh, by the way, we'll grease the skids of your friend that will fly the helicopter as one of the pilots, but we'll also make certain he gets money on the back end. And oh, by the way, we're going to go ahead and push, even though he claims that he's a constitutional sheriff, although Sheriff Richard Mack came to Coeur d'Alene last year and said he's not a constitutional sheriff when he endorsed me, the independent candidate. Bob Norris doesn't truly understand the Constitution. He never studied it. He can't quote any of the founders. He can't quote the anything found in the Federalist Papers. He can't give you quotes that he's not looking down at. He doesn't understand our history, our great history, from when the Pilgrims came over and we had the Mayflower Compact all the way through to the War of Independence, the French Indian War, the War of Independence, Articles of Confederation, eventually the Constitutional Convention, the ratification of the Constitution, and so on and so forth. He does not understand. He doesn't understand John Locke, treaties of two government, and understands what it is to be the interposition between out of control government and your common man. He's all for the big surveillance state. Any sheriff that would look, there was a lawsuit lawsuits that are coming out left and right. Institute for Justice just put out a article this week that Jen Noel sent to us, where people are starting to push back all across this country because they're not happy. They're not comfortable with your government deciding that they're going to sell you on. We got to protect everybody. And we said before, we're not going to give up our dangerous liberty for your so-called security. Otherwise, we'll just give up the Fourth Amendment. We understand that they're a risk. We understand that law enforcement can't protect us from everything. We understand that law enforcement can't solve every crime. We understand that not everybody gets convicted of their crime because why? It's the way the Constitution, the Bill of Rights was set up. But he is pushing this as a so-called self-described constitutional sheriff. And why? And why did he put it on so many vehicles? Ask yourself that question. One or two, okay, maybe.
You've got LE that has even shared with me. It makes sense to have it on a couple vehicles because you do find stolen vehicles that way.
Yeah, stolen. I mean, when I was in Spokane and we ran them, there's two cars. We went to all of the hot zones where we always found stolens, and dispatch would put a hot sheet. You know, they would upload it daily.
And what studies what studies have been done for that a department this size in a county this size that it warrants that kind of massive rollout on
think about
nearly 50 patrol
vehicles? Spokane County just went to a live law enforcement I forget what they call it now. It's escaping me, but control rooms and constant live crime centers. That's what they are. And they share data from all sources. Kootenai County, right next door, we don't need that many license plate readers. Prior to them going live in county, the LPRs were picking up over 4 million plates per month. And all that data is going somewhere. And what they're doing is they are building, no matter what they're telling you, go to Motorola, go to YouTube and watch the experts that will tell you none of this is safe. Only takes one flip of one switch, so to speak. And every time your plate is tagged in every location and time, eventually they're building a geo footprint of you. And if they want to come find you someday, hey, we need to know where John Doe is. Well, let's go in and run his plate. Oh, you know what? We know that he frequents Super One on Hayden and 95 every Tuesday at 7 a.m., like clockwork. This is what they're doing, folks.
The bottom line is these LPRs are helping to create your digital footprint. And there's been the argument of people basically, well, I give up because you're carrying around in your pocket anyway via your phone. And I mean, even Bruce Matari's talked about that. He's tried to squelch the concern.
Bruce Matari has already publicly stated he puts a blocker on his.
He's got
LPR.
a plate cover on there, so that
he doesn't even want it, but he votes for it.
But the LPRs that Bob Norris has put on nearly 50 patrol cars in Kootenai County that have been running for however many months to whatever it quantifies in years now, is helping, aiding and abetting, creating your digital footprint, and that does not go away. That does not get deleted. I mean, it just doesn't. It doesn't.
And we know that Palantir and through Gotham and Foundry, they're eventually going to create a world, folks, where no matter how safe you think Kootenai County is, if your leaders aren't proactively fighting this right now and saying, oh, hell no, we're not going to do this, Kootenai County will be every bit of a lockdown, surveillance state, smart city where you won't go anywhere that they don't allow you to. Your vehicles won't drive past a certain limit if you can even buy fuel. Your currency will be nothing more than an electronic number. Everything's going to be known about you. But that's only the other part of it. So we've talked about, again, why we don't want the LPRs and why Bob Norris is a bald-faced liar and why he really wants this. Mm-hmm. But let's also not gloss over the fact that you have an emotionally unstable man who, I've said this for well over a year. We don't know what his real disability is. He says 12 and 13% shoulder injuries. We have other information that tells us otherwise. But do you want your chief law enforcement officer, the one that can intercede between you and federal agencies, three-letter agencies, do you want a guy like that is as retaliatory as he is, how vindictive, how emotional, how explosive, how melancholy? What's the word I want for crying? I mean, it's emotionally weird, up and down. And you really trust this guy to handle license plate reader data? The guy that rolled it out and was running it in demo mode with no governors, no controls on it until he got exposed by me? I strongly urge you to tell all your friends and neighbors to contact Mark Eberline, County Commissioner Mark Eberline, and County Commissioner Leslie Duncan to let them know, now you don't trust Bob Norris with your information. Don't listen to, he's going to get a ton of retired Southern California cops. You can tell them they're all the same, white hair, mustaches. You've seen one, you've seen them all.
The room next Wednesday night will be full of them, and they will be there to intimidate you.
They'll come up there and they'll say, well, I was law enforcement and it helped us save kids. And it's all anecdotal, folks. It's not even based on fact.
Emotional incontinence. Thank you, Andy. Yeah. Andy Filler on Facebook. Bob Norris has emotional incontinence.
Yeah. So
perfectly described.
In conclusion, two things here. Say no to the LPRs because Norris doesn't really care about officer safety. He's proven it time and time again by his own actions. There's that. And then also, you don't want to trust this guy who apparently is continuing his harassment of the woman that he's supposed to protect. Sheriff protects everybody's rights as found in the Bill of Rights to life, liberty, and property. What kind of world are we living in Kootenai County when you have the KCRCC, the Kootenai County Republican Central Committee, and their behavior and their condoning of Bob's behavior on behalf? And you can go back to our February 22nd and the following week episodes to see what our belief is on how wrong the KCRCC and all the representatives are, the way they've handled themselves and conducted themselves. But remember, people in this county apparently only vote Republican, and they're too lazy. That means most of you out there are lazy. You won't vet your candidates to find out who the most constitutionally minded, conservative, proven, experienced leader is. You just want to look at a shiny, flashy badge from Los Angeles and let the KCRCC do their vetting through their own hand-select people, the very tyrants of this county that are destroying true independence and liberty. The things that they're doing right now are look, I'm conservative. I have a Christian worldview. I want moral and righteous behavior to be always at the first and forefront of everything, but everything's within balance. The government is not my church. It's not my God. And we live in a post-Christian nation, and you cannot force your neighbor right now to adopt your religion by the barrel of a gun. You compel them. And the KCRCC is the Taliban of North Idaho. It's going to piss you off that I said that, but I said it. It has become the Taliban of North Idaho, which is, if you step out of line, if you're not part of the tribe, we have no use for you. They hide under the Republican banner, but they're anything but that. Brent Reagan must go. The North Idaho Republicans that have come in, that have started to bring balance, don't be conned by what's being said about the North Idaho Republicans. And all of you, my good friends out there, you know this to be true. We have to have balance. The founders wanted balance. They did not want any faction with complete control, because they knew out of complete control comes tyranny. And you know this, and I know this. We had a recent pastor in this region on a national news interview say that they want to take dominion or domination of this whole area. Those are scary words. The only person that can claim dominion is Jesus Christ himself. It's time to get rid of Brent Reagan. It's time to get rid of all of those guys that are surrounding him. Jeff Tyler, I like you, but it's time for you to go too, man. You've lost sight of it. You once stood and were bold, but when the pressure finally came on you, you caved. I still love you as a friend and a brother, but you and I are going to be at odds for a very long time. I will not align with anybody. As I said 2 days ago, I'm aligning with nothing but the truth and liberty without compromise. You got anything to finally add?
I wondered if there was anything you wanted to say about this picture right here.
Oh, thank you for bringing that up.
Because there's a little something else.
We're talking about the instability of your sheriff. Bob Norris came from Los Angeles. He spent his entire life there, and he comes up to Kootenai County and he starts wearing hats and Colonel Sanders outfits, gunfighter outfits. He's got his Colonel Sanders tie on. He's got his drop leg holster with a big old badge on. He's got a badge on his lapel pin. He's got a button up vest, and on his right shoulder, you can't see it too well, is a squirrel.
An actual, like a stuffed squirrel?
Yeah, stuffed squirrel. And that was his attire when he went to the Lincoln Day dinner. And I understand people can say, well, he's just having fun. But no, when you look at him, I'm going to tell you right now, all of you that were in law enforcement, military, served, you all know that I'm right when I say this. The only time you wear drop leg holsters is when you have things around your waistline that prohibits you from being able to make a draw, your body armor or something else. But posers wear drop leg holsters. Posers wear drop leg holsters that are revolvers. Posers wear Colonel Sanders ties. This is all an attempt because he has this idea that he is a Hollywood sheriff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't mind hats and boots. Hell, I've worn them my entire life. But Norris is constantly posing as, and here's what I'm getting at. It is a psychologically disturbing behavior. You're talking about you love Los Angeles so much, then be Bob from Los Angeles, be Malibu Bob. If you have a sheriff that's constantly playing cosplay, and you operators out there, you law enforcement pros, you know what I'm talking about. You've laughed, you comment with me about his get up. But this is, again, the emotional instability of this guy that many of you chose. As he said, 48% did not choose him, but over 50% chose him to be their leader, to entrust him with law enforcement duties. So what were you going to say about the photo?
I just want to, Dan had mentioned that there are people in the KCRCC, Brent Reagan, other officials. It's time to go. You got to go. This place, you want to talk about swamp? It's a swamp. It's been infiltrated. And I wanted to call your attention to, I didn't have plans of doing this tonight, but I want to call your attention to the gal standing in the photo next to Sheriff Bob Norris. This is very apropos that you chose specifically this one
found this
for
online,
his outfit.
Yeah, found this online.
Yeah, so, you know, it's public photo. Very intentionally posed together. This is a person, Stephanie Duncan Fetzer, spelled a couple of ways. Stephanie PH, Stephanie with an F in the middle. And I have been working on researching her for quite some time now. And the reason I want to call the attention of the photo now is because in the circles that we run in Kootenai County, it's still a very tight-knit county and community in a lot of ways. When you talk about church circles and women's teas or bruncheons and some of the Facebook pages we have where get-togethers are planned, or the county fair and people who have booths. And I want to highlight, and this is something that I'm working on that will come out in far more depth, but Stephanie Duncan Fetzer is most definitely, she came from Sacramento County, and she performed political hell in Sacramento County for over a decade. And I have been actively working on this now to this point where it's ramped up from where it began certainly a year ago. Mid-campaign, we did not have the capacity with just the two of us to do the kind of labor-intensive research that needs to be done to understand what's going on in this community.
Because she came out left field and just immediately was vicious.
Yeah, we didn't find her, would have known nothing about her. But the one thing that you can learn is because of the way these people have been trained, unfortunately for them and unfortunately for you, Stephanie Duncan Fetzer, you are very predictable. Mm-hmm. You can't turn an argument. They're never going to buy an argument that they're giving. No amount of facts or evidence that you bring them is going to change their way of belief. They actually don't believe in anything. Their position will change based on whatever mission they've most recently been given. So Stephanie Duncan Fetzer arrives in Kootenai County right around the same time as a lot of people who are currently political players here, and was very naturally embedded in the political scene here in Kootenai County. Somebody whose past in Sacramento County was fighting for medical freedom. And it sounds good, like a family project, medical freedom, pulls her daughters into it. And on the surface, it looks good. These are homegrown, homespun mamas who just, want what's right for their family and for yours, and they're fighting for that cause. Somehow on arrival in Kootenai County, it goes from one cause to something completely different. At bare minimum, okay, this is somebody with political experience who's being paid as an advisor because of how successful she's been. But in very short order, and I'm telling you, it extremely unnaturally has become embedded in politics in this community to where she's hanging out, personal relationship with the sheriff, seeing, will do anything.
Was campaigning with him on the corners.
Campaigning with him for him. Mm-hmm. Was giving counter operations to do anything to destroy the Dan Wilson campaign.
Came out of left field and started accusing me with no proof of being anti-Semitic.
Is political advisor in the churches she goes to, recruits, and it's heavy manipulation tactic. And I just want to say I've been studying her for over a year, and my time is becoming more focused on that. And so we will be revealing that and exposing it more in the future, but it's something to be aware of as you run in with these people. And I'm telling you that whatever they're displaying to you on the surface is not, and it is extraordinarily insidious. And there's a reason that they've become so rapidly and unnaturally embedded in a political sense in this community.
And it's fascinating when you look at the associates that also came with her or around at the same time from the same location that are all involved in these nefarious things. And luckily for us, the internet is forever, and despite the attempt to
they're very adept. Stephanie Fetzer is another person that's very adept at scrubbing intel from the internet, but there are breadcrumbs. Mm-hmm. I've alluded to that before.
Well, the one legal document I saw this week completely blew my mind, and we're looking forward to speaking about that one soon. So
an unplanned teaser, but since we went live tonight, that was just something I felt compelled to share.
Look, I really appreciate those of you who have joined us tonight, this Friday evening, for the special edition, episode 34 of the Liberty Without Compromise broadcast. We're unapologetic when it comes to voicing the fact that every one of us in America needs to exercise our freedom. We cannot compromise our liberty no matter what. As was said by our founders, if you trade your liberty for security, you will have neither. And that is absolutely the truth. Dive in, get off your phone, dive in and read what the founders had to say. Go to Hillsdale College. There's free online courses that you can participate in to give you more of a background in the history and why it's important. If you give up your rights, you will not get them back, I assure you. And we have to hold the line. No Republican president is going to do it for us. No Republican governor. No conservative legislature is necessarily going to either. It's up to you right here in this space and time. What are you doing to promote liberty without compromise? As always, Be strong and of good courage. If you don't know Jesus, find him. We'll see you guys next week for our live edition starting at 6 p.m. Liberty Without Compromise as we cover the final budget adoption fiscal year 26 Kootenai County, including the Sheriff's Office.
And if you can be there in person, be there in person. Our live stream is your second option. If you can be in person to speak out, that is where you need to be. That info is readily available. Thank you for joining us tonight on the Liberty Without Compromise live stream broadcast. This has been a special edition. We thank you for jumping on here almost practically unannounced. And like Dan said, if somebody is going to make a difference, well, it isn't somebody. The somebody is you. It's you physically doing something. That's why I'm putting my own self, my neck on the line, researching somebody who I know has manipulated a lot of others and has power and control in this community. That's why Dan speaks out against a sheriff when other people are scared they're going to be targeted. We want you to know that you can visit our website for past episodes. That's libertywithoutcompromise.com. Make sure to subscribe. We've had more subscribers on our YouTube channel. That's at the Idaho Sheriff, because all of these live streams are archived there, can be shared from there. And we want you to share them to your page or profile after you subscribe to that channel. A lot of other exposés and all our future ones will be stored there also. So that's very important. And then the Liberty Without Compromise page on Facebook, go like and follow it. We need your support. We need you to join in on the conversations that are happening on that page specifically. We take heat.
Wait, also,
we take heat there.
Go support Stop Smart Cities Idaho. Jen Noel has been pouring her heart and soul, along with many of her faithful fellow laborers, stopping this surveillance state that is relentless. The cell towers and everything that's intruding on your liberty. It's time that I go cut the head off this.
It's
underground,
way overdue.
Underground, little Lefroy.
It's time for our official Friday night now.
If you can, join me, folks, for a stogie tonight in celebration of your liberty.
Yeah, post your photos.
Yeah, send them.
We want to see them.
God bless.